Okay, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, I am very, very excited for another interview. And let's just go ahead and get right into it. How about you introduce yourself to everybody out there?
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for the invitation. I am Anna. My whole name is Anna Kirai, but it's usually hard to say for people who don't speak Hungarian. And I am the singer of the modern metal band Mesmerized.
Well, welcome again. Thank you for coming on. I'm very excited to talk to you today about Mesmerized and music.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I guess, first of all, if you could just tell me a little bit about the band and how you all came together.
Well, we started in 2019. Around summertime, and actually I had a band before Mesmerized. We were playing symphonic metal with that band, and I kind of felt like I needed some kind of change, but I didn't know how to actually do that. I mean, I had this more modern style in my head, to mix a little bit of, it sounds bad to say this maybe, but like popish sounds, with metal, what this is all about. And I was thinking, like, should I change, the old band to the new style, or should I start something new, and start completely from the beginning? And in the end, I met Oliver, who is the guitarist and songwriter of the band, and we decided together that we will start something completely new, from zero, because that's how you do it. And that's how the whole thing came. We just started to drop in ideas and started to think, and the whole thing got more and more serious, and that's how it all started.
Very good. Well, so I guess I would describe your sound not as much as poppy, but you have a little bit more electronica to the metal.
Yeah, like, okay, this pop thing, it's not kind of, you can say this because if you listen to only the vocal melodies, you can say, like, it has that kind of like kind of popish, more vocal melodies, if you want to say that. But no, the actual whole sound of the band is more guitar based, but we have this electronic sound mixed into the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, speaking of vocals, I've got to tell you, I think your vocals are beautiful. You have a beautiful
Oh,
voice.
thank you. Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, it sounds to me like you almost have some kind of classical training. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, you're right. The funny thing is that I started with the whole thing with classical music. I was about, I don't even know, 6 years old or seven when I started school. I started learning music, so the whole thing came from there. And I started with 12 years of classical music, and I also learned some classical, vocal training, but it was like a short period of time. I could tell I am not an opera singer, so my voice is kind of, I just wanted to learn, the technique. And I kind of used it in previous works, but this more how to say it in English. Here again comes the pop sound, but maybe that's not how you say it in English, but that kind of style is more close to me. And I also learned some of those techniques, and so I just kind of mix the whole thing together, and that's what you get.
Well, it works really well.
Thank you
I
so much.
think right now it seems like this is a great time for women in rock and women in metal. There are so many great bands out there with female singers, female leads, guitarists, things like that. Um, is that something that you're finding that's kind of inspiring you to move along a little bit?
you know um I am the kind of person who always had, like, when I was younger, inspirations, and since I am a woman, I always went to, find some women idols. So even in pop music, because I started with pop music, later in rock, you could say Emily. I think she was the first singer I actually absolutely followed, and learned what she was doing. And of course you find all of these inspirations around you, that you can do this, they could do this, you can do this. So there is that kind of feeling, of course. Yeah.
Well, I know you mentioned Amy Lee, and that's actually, I don't like comparing one band to another because I think every band has its own sound, but I could definitely hear that in the music that you're making. What other influences do you have personally? Some of the other bands or singers, even pop, what?
Oh, that's a great question, because as things change, in my life, also my kind of I go from one style to the other, kind of, so I had a period when I was listening to Nightwish all the time, and later on, other bands came. So like I had lots of different inspirations. Florian's, and of course, she's an amazing singer. You can just learn from her. Amaranth would be a band we can mention here, because many people said that, our music is kind of, on a similar base, kind of, which can be true. They were a big inspiration, of course. From pop music, I would say Celine Dion. This might be a really interesting thing to hear, but I grew up with her, so she's also like an inspiration.
But that makes sense. Again, you have a very clean, pure voice when you sing, and I think that people, when they hear that, will understand you talking about Celine Dion in that
Thank
way.
you.
Yes.
Well, I always
Um,
said, like there is only one Celine Dion, of course. So I never really believed I am that special, when it comes to vocals. So I'm not the kind of person who thinks like this is something really that special or that unique. But I try to use my voice the best way I can to fit, to into the style we are doing.
well, what about anybody else in the band with you? What are some of the influences they brought along?
I would mention Oliver here, who is, I said, he's the guitarist, and he's the music writer, mostly he does the things. And I am writing lyrics, vocal lines for myself. But his inspiration is really different, because, he grew up with metal music. He has all the, like, the big bands from the 80s, 90s, all of those, like Pantera, uh, Zach Wild, lots of, guitarists and lots of big metal bands with male singers, because he's of course a male, and he's also singing. Yeah, you can hear his voice in one of the tracks we recorded for the first album. And so his inspiration is really different. So like our different kind of things, mixed together in the band. And I think it works well.
Yes, I agree. So speaking about the music a little bit, before we talk about what you're going to be working on next, let's talk a little bit about Electrolyze.
Yeah.
Um, so I just made some notes here. I have a couple of my favorite tracks from the album. Shut Down, I love. I think that's my favorite. Carry On, Desire. Those probably are my three favorite songs from the album.
It's special that you mentioned Carry On, because it rarely comes out, actually.
Really?
Yeah. It's not one of those tracks that really, like, it didn't get that much attention like the other songs, but of course it was not a single from the album, so it was kind of like hidden there. But yeah, I am happy that you mentioned that.
Well, I like that one. That's one that, especially for your bandmates, the guitar and the bass really sound really good in this one. I think that's one of the reasons I like that song a lot.
I always felt, I don't know, maybe you can tell if I am right or wrong, but for me it has that kind of an American sound to it,
Mhm.
like this kind of American tune. I don't know how to explain this, but that has that kind of American style in it for me. I don't know, but I always felt like, this is American. Yeah.
I think, well, I could probably hear then the inspiration from, you said like Zach Wild and
Yeah.
Pantera. And I can tell that somebody's listening to something heavier
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Um, so this album, how did the songwriting happen? Was it instrumentals first, or were you working on lyrics first, or kind of everything at the same time?
Um, as far as I remember, most of the time the instrumental parts were first. Maybe there is one song, I think it would be Electrolyze actually, where I had the vocal lines first for the refrain, like the middle part of the song. But other than that, I think all the instrumentals were there before anything else. And many times in the past, what I did was writing a lyrics and then writing the vocal lines. But you can have really interesting things coming out when this happens. So not always, those things don't always fit together when you do it that way. So I decided not to do this. I figured out the vocal melodies first and then the lyrics. So kind of these things happened after each other, but we were kind of in a rush actually when we were finishing the album, because we already had the release date and we had to finish lots of songs. It was like a chaos at some point. We were like, oh no, but it worked out, and that's what matters.
Would you say it's a similar process for working on your new material? I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I see that online you've been, have you reached your goal to start working on the new album and putting it forth?
Well, we just started like 2 weeks ago, but it's going really well and we are really happy because this is something we never wanted to do. Never. I was always like, no, we can do this by ourselves. I don't want people to put their own money into something we didn't finish. But of course, COVID happened, 2 years pandemic, tours canceled. There was actually no other option for us at that point, to do other than, trying to get people's help, which actually seems to work out very well. And we are happy and thankful about it. And what we plan to do here is we will release an EP with like 3 or 4 songs on it first, and this is gonna come out this year, and the big album, the second album, will come out next year. So
Okay.
kind of we just started writing the songs, and no, we don't plan to have this kind of a rush this time.
Do you think is it following the same kind of pattern though? You're working on melody, and then the guitar tracks and things like that'll come next, or is it pretty much the same as the last one?
I
In that way?
think that like the kind of process of the songwriting will be kind of similar, but this time with the instrumentals, guitars will be like the first thing, because many times we were focusing on the electronic parts kind of, and we want the guitars to be even more, what's the word here, to be more in focus. That's what I want to say. Like, it's gonna be maybe a heavier album than the first one, so we don't plan to use that many electronic stuff in it, maybe. And so the guitars will be like the first thing there, and later on, of course the electronic parts will be there, just not in your face all the time, and the vocal lines and everything will come on top of that.
Okay. Well, going back to something you said about how you were funding this album and getting things put together, and I know that sometimes it's hard for artists to accept doing something like that. But what I try to tell people, and the more bands that I talk to, not everybody is Iron Maiden. Not everybody is a really big band that can just focus on doing that. Almost everybody else has to work a real job in addition to making their music, and it's not always as glamorous as people expect it to be. And that's why I always tell people, go out and support local musicians and support smaller bands that are working hard to get out there. So I think you don't have anything to worry about. People love your music and love what you're doing, so they're happy to help, I think.
It's so hard to explain why this thing was something I never wanted to do. I always felt like, because of course when you record an album you have to put your own money in, except if you are a bigger band and of course you have a label and then the label puts the money in, but other than that you have to do that. And of course, like, it's a really hard thing, because if you think about, like, album promotion, getting the physical album done, graphic works, recording the song, mixing, blah blah blah, it costs a lot of money, of course. But I was always like, this is our job, we have to do this, and then you can sell the material to people, and if they like it, because they can listen to it first and then they can decide what they want. But of course, this time, it was impossible doing this alone. It was just absolutely. And so we were like, okay, let's give it a chance. Maybe people will feel like they like the music enough to support a second album. And so we decided to try it.
So from a songwriting perspective, from the lyrics, do you find that you draw on a lot of personal things for you personally when you're writing your lyrics?
I always reflect on things I went through or things I experienced in my life. But Mesmerized is kind of lyric-wise, maybe a kind of easier thing. So it's not that deep kind of thing, I would say. Like, for example, when I did the symphonic metal band, it was a different thing. You can go much deeper with the lyrics there. Here, I think the music fits absolutely well with kind of easier lyrics that people also can easily relate to. But yes, I absolutely, reflected on things I went through.
Well, I know that you're somebody on social media, you like to share a lot of your other interests and hobbies and feelings. You kind of put yourself out there a lot. So tell me about some of the other things that you're involved in, things you like to do.
Yeah, social media is interesting thing, because I think you have to push it so people can, you can reach more and more people, and it works. I actually started streaming on Twitch, which is a funny thing for those people who actually know me and know that I never touched a game in my whole life, actually, up until last year. And I was like, I'm gonna stream this, But the reason why I decided to start this actually was that, tours got canceled. We were absolutely, it can cause a lot of bad feelings, a lot of depression, when something that this happens, So it was a really hard time. And I was like, maybe we should do something that can keep people close, in a way. And I was like, if I stream on Twitch, even if I am a bad gamer, like, this is fun. They can laugh about me. And there is actually one game I actually love playing, and nothing else. But people, who listen to the music came and they stayed there because they felt like there is, a little bit of connection there. You can talk to people, you can have a lot of communication going on. So this is something I do on a daily basis now.
Well, it seems like you have a lot of fun with it.
It's fun. It's absolutely, I love it.
So let's talk now a little bit about playing live shows. I know you went through a period where you couldn't play anywhere. Everything was shut down. Do you really enjoy playing live, or do you like more of the studio musician part of it?
No, absolutely. You need that energy you get on stage. That's a different thing. I absolutely love the studio work part because that's, creativity. But being on stage, where people are there, and then there are people who wait for you to play, and they give you that adrenaline, you cannot get this anywhere else, actually. But Mesmerized is a funny story because we never had the chance to play live. And then that's kind of like, this is a sad thing, because if you look at this is an online band in a way for people. They never had the chance to see this live. And we were just about to hit the road when, all the cancellations happened. So we are now like anxious, like we need to get on stage. We have to do this,
Do you think you would enjoy playing like smaller venues with people really close, or do you imagine playing like one of the big European metal festivals like Wacken or something?
Oh, well, I used to be like, I was 16 when I started, all the band things. And I always was like, I'm going to be a big touring musician who plays, big arenas, and this is what I wanted. But as you grow up, you realize that that's not just, I mean, of course it can be great, but I can see why bigger bands say that that's a little bit too much after, years of doing that, because you need the closure of people. And so right now, what I imagine with Mesmerized would be amazing to go on a club tour, play smaller clubs where you can feel the people close, and you can have that serious energy, inside that club with people. But of course, playing a bigger festival would be awesome too. That would be awesome.
Do you like making music videos?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's also another thing that gives you that. I mean, maybe that's because I am a woman and, like getting ready for something like this, like I plan my makeup, the hair thing, the dresses, this is something that gives you that adrenaline again. Like, I want this, but it's also like it can be serious work. So you are there for, I don't know, 12 hours and doing it constantly. And, you listen to the same song all the time. So when you go home and you are just like, I can't listen to this anymore, but it's awesome. It's always a nice experience.
You get to feel like a movie star for a little while, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. But actually, we work with one guy, and you wouldn't believe this maybe if you look at the videos, because I think he does an amazing job. But it's just one guy doing the whole thing, so we don't have like a big crew there. It's just one guy.
Well, I mean, you would never be able to tell. They look good.
He's really great, and he absolutely loves figuring things out and working on things, and he just feels the things we tell him we want to see, and he imagines it, and he can do those things. It's awesome.
Um, is there a song, is there an album or a band right now that you are listening to a lot that you personally love right now?
Yes, and this is a new thing for me, but I would say Dynasty,
Okay.
with Neil Smolin, who's also a singer in Amaranth, but he has another band where he's the lead vocalist, and they play kind of like well, I don't even know how they describe themselves, because it has this kind of heavy metal style, but like mixed with power metal kind of thing, so it's kind of a little different than what we do, but they are amazing. They are a Swedish group, and I think that from bands like them, for example, you can just learn from them. It's awesome. So at the moment, this is like, it's on repeat all the time.
Do you, what about with your own music? What are some of your favorite songs, either from Electrolyze or from the new material you're working on?
Oh, this is a hard question.
You can pick more than one if you want to.
I would definitely say Shut Down, because I think it was also fun to write, but I think it's kind of like shows exactly what this music is about. Um, but I would also say there is a song where we had the chance to work with Amaranth's growler, GG6. He worked on the song with us, so he was a featuring artist there. And the song is called Cyanide, and it's also on our first album. And it's kind of heavier, I think, than all the other songs. But it was also something very special for us, to have him on the track.
Are there any other singers or artists that you would like to work with in the future?
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah, you could say like everyone, basically, not everyone, but like it would be fun one day to do a song, with another woman singer. It would be so much fun, because that can be great as well, but I never really, could imagine this thing, how it would turn out, because I don't think it's always great, when for example, there are two similar voices, it doesn't really stand out that well, but there are also like male vocalists we are thinking about, and maybe there will be a featuring singer on the next album too. Maybe.
Maybe we'll have to wait and find out.
Maybe. Yes.
Okay, so my last question is, it's not a trick question, but is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
Oh my God, this is a hard question. But I think you actually went through everything. You had the nice questions, because sometimes you say the same thing, like why is the name of the band Mesmerized? Like these kind of questions, are kind of hard to answer, because that's just what it is. But I think no, you asked everything. And if you would have asked more about the new album, it would have been hard to answer, because I have to be honest, the songs are still, in the working process. So there are so many details. I still don't know how it will turn out, So I think you asked everything, actually. Nice job.
Thank you. Well, good. I mean, we don't want to give too much away about the new album anyway, right? People need to be excited. They want to know.
Yes. And
Right.
we will also, like we always do, like little snippets here, photos here and there, little videos, so we will definitely share some exciting things along the way.
Good. Well, I thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, and everybody out there who's watching. If you've not already heard Mesmerized, please go listen to them. And if you're a fan already, you heard it here. There's new material coming out this year with the EP, and then next year with a full album, I believe. So look for all of that out there, because it's really great stuff. Thank you again. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really so much fun. And thank you everyone watching.
All right, I will make sure that I include all the information to your band linked down below here so people can find you easily. And other than that, thank you, and have a great day. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks you so much. Definitely. Thank you so much, and bye bye.
Bye.